Hey everyone, welcome to episode 62 of PixlFeed Radio, and I'm here with my friend Devonée Thaxton. How you doing, Devonée? How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for coming on, man. I'm excited to have you. We're talking about how busy we both are today and trying to catch up.
End of the year, right? It's all these last minute, so much going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I specialize in e-commerce, so Black Friday, Christmas, this is like my Super Bowl. So you know, watching spend, scaling, hitting it hard, trying to make it, for clients and my own stuff, trying to get as many sales as we can, obviously not trying to make it.
Of course.
So, doing that. But for those of you that don't know, Devonée, she actually owns a strategic performance agency based out of Denver. And you believe that every business is different. They'll need a different strategy. So you help them put together a full own strategy. When it comes to their business, to help them scale and to help them grow. So, I mean, you do it all. So that's why I'm like, I don't know how you find the time, because I concentrate on like literally running ads for Facebook, and then maybe we'll build a funnel, and then, we help with obviously with the copywriting, the ad copy, and the creatives. Yeah. But you're doing like content and all that stuff. So, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely something to doing too much and to kind of niching your business. But we are really about trying to hit that pause button to create a plan, create a strategy before you implement your great, awesome new idea, right? So in your case, it's like, okay, we're going to do a Black Friday deal. Fantastic. I don't want to run that. I would have someone in my agency who is very skilled in that. Ads are not my thing at all. Right. I don't want them to be my thing.
Nothing wrong with that. Give it to me. Let me handle the ads. You worry about everything else. It's like content. I don't want to deal with content. You know what? I just turn the ads on, put the pedal to the floor, and I'll make it grow.
Right. But it's knowing that these things have to happen, and having a strategic plan to know, like, okay, I'm doing this on Black Friday. Where's your email marketing? What's your social media looking like? What are these ad spends? What's the cost for all of these things? So it is taking that time before you go into something like, doing a huge end of the year holiday, deal or package, and creating a plan for it. And
so you're essentially I was gonna say quarterback, but you're the coach. You're like, okay, we need ads, we need content, we need this, we need that, and you put it all together to help those businesses grow. Like, I specialize, we specialize. When I say we, it's only I only have a few people on my team, because I keep it very small when it comes to clients, since I have my own e-com brands.
Right.
But I concentrate on taking stores, like e-com stores that are already doing six figures. It's like, all right, I'm the guy who's going to take you to the next level, like scale. You help them. You actually help them from the start, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So a good chunk of my clients are definitely pre-six figures. They're in the space where they're like, one, I don't want to do all of this stuff anymore. Please help me. And what I'm doing is not to the level to where I want to be doing it. And so coming in either as a project manager or having project managers kind of into their team to make sure all the things are happening. But the real good sweet spot is being an online business manager. So making sure that I'm kind of the interim person between the owner, founder, CEO, to make sure that all of the worker bees are getting what they need to get done, making sure the strategy's in place, making sure the project plan looks great and things are happening the way that they need to. We're sticking to margins, we're sticking to financial goals, and also having those checkups and also educating and coaching the business owner of why we're doing things this way, what's important, what's not important, and scaling from there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I do with my clients. And even though, believe it or not, even though some of these brands, they're multi-million-dollar brands, you still we treat them like partners. Like, I don't refer to our clients, like I say it here, but I refer to them more like, I don't see them as clients, I see them as partners.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because we're an extension of that brand, right? Absolutely. We're helping you grow.
Right.
And a lot of these marketing teams with these companies, it's people that went to college, graduated with a marketing degree, and then they got a corporate job. And the corporate game is very different from someone like me who started from scratch with their own store. It's a very, very different, I keep up. This is my job. I keep up with this stuff daily, and I spend a lot of money a month between clients and myself. So I know what's going on right away. I know what works and what doesn't. Their job is to see the brand overall marketing plan. So they're not concentrating just on the ads or the content or whatsoever. But I got to say, you know what you're doing, because I usually ask guests before they come on to send me a bio and some pictures, so we can use it for the thumbnail and other stuff. And yours is like the most organized, pretty pictures I've gotten.
Well, thank you.
I got to give you that. You're like that, and your bio is pretty on point too. So very organized. But
I appreciate
before
that.
we get to the content, and for those of the people that are listening that maybe are starting out, that are handling everything themselves, I'm sure we're going to go over some pointers of what they can do to grow, and how when it's the right time to look, to hire somebody like you to take over all the content and all that stuff. Right. But let's talk about your background. So how did you get started on this? Like, you look young. So social media your whole life? Like, how did it start?
No, honestly, so I started my business right at the beginning of the pandemic, which has been fun and was very interesting. So I started my business right at the beginning of March of...
What were you doing before that?
Before that, I was working in the corporate space, doing project management and some admin stuff, a lot of project coordinator, one of those hats, multiple hats type titles, and learning that, one, I can do more, stepping into like what kind of shackles they had me in of like, red tape, and I can only do this if 17 other people approve, and just learning that I can't help to the capacity that I would like to help. That's
the thing about corporate. I mentioned this at one point, a long time ago. I worked for I don't even know if I can say a name. I don't want to say a name, but it's like one of the biggest cell phone companies.
Sure.
There's two that are the top ones. Just pick one. They're both the same. Fair. And anything and everything, it's like you said, like 10,000 people to get approval for. And then I love the people that I work with. Luckily, like where I was at, the people that I work with were amazing. But everything that came with the red tape, what was allowed, what was not. And it's just like, it was live training. Like it was just live training. So I can see, but you just one day it's like, I can't do this anymore type of deal. That's pretty much what it came down to.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, some of these steps matter. Approvals matter. Making sure that the right eyes are on things matter. However, when it stops from growth or when it stops from innovation, that's where things started to kind of rub me the wrong way. And so that's kind of where things happened. I also was doing kind of this work on the side for people who just kind of weren't necessarily ready. And it became of like, I need to be able to control this better. And so that's when ProSavvy was born, being able to help people on my own terms, on their own terms, so we can reach success and what that looks like for them.
It's a very good point that you bring up with people not recognizing about moving forward of what works, what's working now and what's not. Yeah. Like I was on TikTok. I'm on TikTok every day at some point. But anyway, like at one point I saw there was this girl and she worked for Dominos. Mm-hmm. And she made a couple of videos for Dominos. Like she was like proactive about it. She was trying to help her store, Yeah. And she made a few TikToks, like literally showing off Dominos. Not even her, like showing off Dominos. Like, and this is where like that young mentality, innocence comes in. Like, she's probably 16, it's her first job or something. Right. And she just got like literally like 1 million point something views on her TikToks for Dominos because they were so fun and so creative. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the comments like, you need like is Domino's paying you? Like all the older people. Yeah. And apparently she reached out. She made a talk. She was like really sad in her car. And this broke my heart. She sat there and she's like, I reached out and they said that right now they're not looking for any help in the marketing department. And I'm sitting there just like literally like hitting my desk. I'm like, you fucking dinosaurs. Do you have any idea of the gold mine that you have working for your company that already did this for free? And you don't want to pay her a few $1,000s a year to like, because I mean, that's what, it's like,
it's so frustrating. It's like, you don't know, you don't care, you don't want to learn, you don't even want to try it.
It's 2020 people. Like, how long are you going to play this game that social media doesn't matter? Or are you going to half-ass it? Like it's literally going to take I would say your generation, because you're a little younger than me. I'm an old ass millennial. I'm like right on the line with Gen X, right? But I still like I'm millennial. But I think it's gonna take like literally like when Gen Z takes over, it's like that's when like all this shit's gonna take off. Like it hasn't even really taken off. People don't understand that online shopping only is 30% of all retail in the world. Only 30%. And that just happened this year. Before that, it was 10.
Right.
And that's counting Amazon. So do the math right there.
Right.
All right.
I mean, with the Instagram and Facebook shops popping up, really taking advantage of that for your e-commerce. And instead of just relying on, you know, Shopify or BigCom, wherever, you know, your online business is, but the coolness of, I don't have to leave Instagram to buy jewelry that I bought this morning. Literally woke up and was like, that necklace is so cute. Click, click, click. Didn't even leave Instagram. I already bought and spent whatever dollars.
I love people like you. You make me happy.
It's great. So like what you're doing matters. And there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of disconnect and just understanding. And that's definitely where I'm an educator at heart and I'm a server at heart. And so a big part of my company is explaining to them not only why social media matters, but providing the numbers and explaining to them that, you know, social media is a big part of my company, but it always comes from a strategic and data-driven place. So knowing what are vanity metrics, why they matter, and in what cases, majority of cases, why they don't matter.
Right.
Being honest and transparent with them that social media isn't a quick fix. We're kind of really getting out of the phase of like viral people. So if you're expecting that type of,
that's my favorite. Hey, can you help me go viral? Sure.
Yeah, right.
Give me $3,000 and I'll run a video views campaign for you. Like,
absolutely,
you know, it's like,
right. Yeah. Can you get me 10,000 followers in 3 months? No, it doesn't work like that anymore. Yeah. I mean, not that it doesn't happen for special situations, but like that's not a realistic expectation for you.
If I knew the formula to go viral every single time, I would be a billionaire by now.
Yeah, right.
I think the closest people who have figured that one out is the Harmon Brothers. And those are the guys who do the commercials for like Squatty Potty and Flex Fix or whatever it's called. Like all the commercials is the same exact formula. I actually went to their boot camp and they're geniuses.
And it's money. It's money to make that happen.
Yeah, those are not cheap. Those are like full blown, like, you know, like a room full of writers, like full blown, like Hollywood style commercial. I mean, it's not cheap to create something like that, and that's why they hit it every time. But anyway, so let's go back a little bit before we get into this stuff. So you were just life drained. You were bored. You're like, I got to get out of this. Where you were waking up every day and you're like, oh, I got to go to work. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're like,
I mean, it was painful. And for me, and this sounds so like, woe is me, lame, first world problems, but I was so bored. I was bored. I think that's a millennial. I mean, I'm kind of in the upper levels of millennials, a little bit further from Gen Z, but I was bored. I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't educating. I'm too far away from retiring to sit here and be like, well, I guess this is it. You know, because I'm a learner. I love working. I love using all my 17 highlighters and pens and sticky notes to like make sure I'm learning and trying new things. And so it was to a point where it's like, I've done all I can. I talked to who I needed to talk to. I went to my boss and my boss's boss, and I did skip level meetings, and I volunteered for a lot of things and still not feeling fulfilled. It was never in my plan to start a business and be an entrepreneur, and I'm still getting used to that title. I mean, I'm paying the taxes, so I really need to get used to, you know, having that title. But at some point it became, I have to do it for myself. Because,
you know, it's funny, like when you start, like I remember the first one, like the first real business that I started, and like my card said, you know, founder, CEO. I was like, flexing, like, this is awesome. Now it's like I have partners in other businesses. Like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't give a shit. Just whatever. I don't even want cards. Like, I don't care. You know, it's like, but it's like, you know, it's cool when you first start. So how did you, first of all, I got to admire that you weren't in sales, were you? At all? No. Do you have any sales background? Okay. No, I have a sales background, so I can, you know, that's how I got my clients at first when I needed to. Yeah. But that's even more admirable. So how did you start getting clients before you quit? Or you got some clients before you quit, right?
Yeah. So it's honestly, it's been all word of mouth since I've started, which has been fantastic.
That's amazing.
It was kind of a situation where I entered into something. Someone was looking for someone project-minded, operations-minded. Hey, have you talked to Devonée? Devonée's great. And in that situation, that didn't work out. There were other people in that group who needed me or needed someone like me, and then it just kind of has exploded for that. So yeah, I haven't done any sales. I haven't run any ads. I haven't done any email marketing. All of that is like getting into 2021, and now those things need to happen. And I'm ready to scale in that way. But I have had zero sales experience except for my 6 months working at a clothing store, and realizing that, for me and what I do, it's really just talking and getting understanding with the client and what they're needing and being able to reach them right exactly where they are and being able to educate and help them along the way. So yeah,
Absolutely.
no sales experience, but that's something I'm looking into. I will be reaching out to you about running ads.
There's a book called this old school book, but I mean it's one of the best books out there when it comes to sales. It's called How to Sell by Tom Hopkins. Like if you really want to learn sales the right way, like how sales are done, you definitely read that book.
Yeah.
A lot of that I learned a long time ago, and I still, it's internalized at this point in my life because I've been doing it for so long. But at this point, I don't really even need to do it. People just come to me too.
Right.
All right. So you started working for some clients. Obviously, you're good at what you do. And then the word of mouth, people started, talking, and then you just took that leap, huh? You woke up and then it's like, here's my 2 weeks, or like we just walked out, or what happened?
Well, I'm a strategic planner, and so I didn't do anything until I had a very clear plan. So I put myself on you have 6 weeks. If this is what you want to do, you have 6 weeks to put it all to paper. So that included, what do I need to make to leave my job? Who do I want in 6 months or a year to join my company? What is my policies and procedures? What are my privacy policies? I also have a technical background. So what are the systems that I need? What do I want to do? What do I not want to do? So I put myself through the same ringer that I would put for my clients who are in that spot.
You know why I'm laughing? Because we're so totally different personalities. You're like my wife. My wife is like type A. Everything has to be planned out strategically, blah, 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 blah. And then there's me. I come, again, sales background. So with me, it was sell first, figure out the rest.
Right.
Sales pays for everything. So the rest will be figured out at some point. I'll hire somebody to figure out. And that's what I did. I was like, listen, I don't want to deal with any of this shit. Just this is what I want. Just figure it out. Put it on paper. And that's what I did. That's so cool. Isn't that cool? Like we have totally two different personalities, and we kind of do the same thing if you really think about it.
Yeah, no, and it totally matters. And so for me, I knew that I need to do this. After that, I had very specific mentors that I had look at all of the things for me and tell me, kind of give me a green light, or maybe you should look at these things. And then it was like, all right, let me pay my $50 to the state, and now I own a business. That's kind of what it boiled down to. And that's how it kind of took off. And then being in a space, one thing that everyone that I talked to, all of these mentors that I talked to, all were saying, like, I wish I would have asked for help sooner, constantly. And so being in a space of that forever and being like, you know what, I don't want to learn ads to the capacity that skilled people can do it. I don't want to do it. I don't have to do it. It's already in my plan that I'm going to hire someone to, do those things for me. And that's okay. And it's smart and it's healthy. And so I think that's also what's kind of brought to such quick success, is being able to outsource as soon as possible.
I tell people all the time, like, listen, I know how to do copywriting. Like if I have to do it, I'll do it. Like my personal projects, sometimes I'll do it, but most of the time I have my own copywriters, just because that's what they do all day long. It's like, if you want something done the right way, hire the right person to do it. I try to surround myself with people who are better than me. Even when it comes to ads, there's a few people that I'm in groups, I'm in masterminds that I talk to all day, every day. And, I learn from them too. And they learn from me, just because, you get to a point, once you get to a certain spend, you see patterns, and we all see the same patterns. But we learn from each other. We all think differently. Absolutely. So, I have friends that do what I do, and they spend the same or more with clients and whatever, like in budgets. Right. But they see patterns in a different way than I do. Mm-hmm. Like, some of them are very like analytical, like, they should have gotten a computer science degree because they're looking at every single impression number and see, like every little number, percentages up and down, blah, 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 which I do too. But I don't go that detailed. Yeah. And then, while they're not wasting their time, while they're like sitting there, like trying to hack like 0.1 cent on an ad, I'm like, change the fucking headline. And then boom, the sales go up because I have that marketing sales background. You know what I mean? Yeah, so they learn from me and I learn from them to be a little bit more analytical. So that's, no one's perfect, man. You can always be learning. That's my whole point.
Absolutely. And to think that you need to do it all, is you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You don't have to do it all. You don't need to learn to do it all. So
this is another thing I tell people. It's like, when you're starting out, I get it. You're trying to save every penny. You're trying to do it all yourself. But I'm telling you, you got to get out of that mindset, man. Money is just money. You'll make more of it. If you know what you're doing, if you work hard, you're going to make more of it. Yes, you're going to have up and downs if you don't set up systems or whatever. But I'm telling you, once you get that mental block out of your head and you just start spending it, like, I need to hire this person, I need to buy this, I need to pay for this. It's like the world just gives it back to you. It's so weird. It's so weird. Same with ads. When I started running Facebook ads back in the day, I will like freak out if I spend like $500 and didn't get a sale back or whatever. And once I got once I started looking at my ads, like they weren't money anymore. And it was just like a video game, like a high score. Yeah. Changed the game. Like there was no emotional attachment to it. Just like you shouldn't get emotionally attached to products or campaigns or whatever. Once you do that, man, the universe is going to send it right back to you if you're doing the right thing.
No, that's so good.
All right. So you started, you set up the plan, you have your clients. So what happened from there? You just.
Yeah. So they'll come to me either for really just consulting strategy. We have calls every month or maybe every quarter.
No. But like you said that you set up a plan for yourself and, going back, sorry. When you set up the plan that you were going to execute in the next 6 weeks or whatever. So how did that go? Did it went according to plan or?
Yeah, I mean, it went pretty according to plan. And then it was, let's go ahead and quit and get going. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so it wasn't fully, I'm sorry, let me correct that. It wasn't fully quit my full-time job. It was more of just like quit that I cared, that I was going to put more effort into that. Still, it wasn't to the point yet of quitting. I've been able to keep the job and kind of restructure and kind of treat them as a client essentially from that corporate job, but also removing myself that I needed to reach this place within this corporate space that just wasn't going to happen. And so it was moving out of that and just starting to really start my own thing. And so having those clients pretty much at the beginning and having them kind of laid out before kind of starting my business was awesome.
That's really cool. So for those, let's get into a little bit of what you actually do with content and all that stuff. For those that are listening, that maybe are they doing it all themselves or like, so when you get a new client, what is the first thing that you do when they reach out to you? So I'll come up to you and be like, hey, like I started a store and I got to run the ads, not run the ads, but I want to sell stuff online. What do I do? So what's the first thing that you do? Like, what's the process like when they work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had that exact call yesterday of someone who was wanting to, start a store, start a cute little boutique. And so for those type of clients, it's all about strategy. They're not ready for any implementation or even project management, like those sides of my business. And so it would be really, let's schedule time and we're going to talk about all of these things. So in that 25 minute discovery call, I'm really just tossing tons of free information to them of where do you want to be? How do you want to be? How much money in pie in the sky? If you can make X amount in the next year, what does that look like?
$1 million. That was always the answer I used to get when I was small businesses. It's always $1 million.
Right. Let's figure that out. Now, let me tell you what you're going to need to make $1 million. You're going to need $1 million to make $1 million. Not really, but like you have to start investing, right, in other ways that you thought, more than just getting the product, is all of these other areas. So in those type of instances, it's strategy first. You and I are coaching. We're talking about what you have for your business, at what phase do you need to implement things. So for example, email marketing may not be right for you until phase 3 of your business. Let's start with social media and getting your Shopify account, for example, set up, optimized. That's phase 1. Let's start there first.
So you actually help him set up the Shopify store in the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, a little bit. I do have some people on my team who have really big experience of that, but I have set up like Instagram shop and Facebook shop for our social media clients. So for some of our products, social media clients, getting those things set up, was just part of some of their packages, as they already had their Shopify set up. They already had a developer for that. Yeah. So for us to just connect all of those things was fine. But to set up their full Shopify shop, that's not something I want to do.
So, I don't blame you.
Yeah, and for them, again, it's understanding and being real with them. You're brand new. Use a template. Use a free template. Start from there, at least for now, until you're ready to hire someone to really do some major, beautiful customization of your site. And so, yeah, it starts with really having those conversations that people just don't know. Sometimes it's like, I want to start an online shop and not knowing what they need to do, but then also the different types of levels that they need to do it, in. It doesn't have to look like Sally's shop over here because Sally has money or Sally has other resources. For you, what you have for your time, here's the best course of action. And then we can move to be similar to Sally or do your own thing. Who cares about Sally? Do what you want to do, and we'll figure out how to make that happen. That's true and authentic to you.
That's cool. So, all right, so you help them with that. Now, when it comes to content and social media, how do you approach that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a graphic designer on my team and a content writer on my team as well. And so we really go in and see what they're doing. If it's a brand new shop, it's building, a brand new social media platform. It's figuring out what are their goals, what do they want to do? Are they using this as to find leads or to sell products, or is it just the first phase for them to even have a presence on social media? And that ends up being a really interesting conversation of like, you don't exist digitally. And so putting you out there today, on December 15th, it's going to take a good 2-3 months for you to show up in general. And then we can start to optimize where you show up, how you show up, how often you show up, as an umbrella overview. And so a lot of clients, it ends up being like that. So it's finding their voice. It's finding, what are your goals? And sometimes that is just getting you in the digital space. And then from there, we can optimize and try and tailor. You want to be selling your product to women in this different demographic or whatever, and tailoring their content, hashtag strategy, all of those different things, their stories, all these reels. And
how do you, for example, so I was just dealing with this with a partner of mine. We were talking about this because I personally have been disconnected from like organic Instagram because I'm so concentrated on the ads. Yeah. And then I was, we're looking at the competitors' Instagram accounts, and they all look the same now. They're all like, very, it's like they use the same filter on all their pictures. And then
all those presets and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So how do you develop an Instagram strategy? Like, how do you find out which hashtags to use? Because when I used to play around with Instagram organically, I used to actually, there was a million tools that I could use, but they all got taken down eventually. Right. And I just haven't messed with it since then because I don't have the time. But so how do you find out which hashtags to use? Are you actually sitting there and going to the explore page, see what's trending, and then you pick the top posts and then see what hashtags they're using? What type of tools are you using to figure out the hashtags and the strategy to use to start ranking?
Yeah, totally. So towards the beginning of my business, I really started to build these systems within myself, build these resources. So I have a list based on different categories, like coach. Under coach, I have about 200 different hashtags that have been tested through Instagram and through other things like Tailwind and other places.
How did you find the hashtags though?
Just if it's hashtag fashion, going through and looking to see, okay, so there's hashtag fashion. I also see 15 other versions of that.
Gotcha. You're doing it manually. You're not using like an automated tool.
No. And the reason I don't, I shouldn't say that. It was a combination of the two.
Okay. Which tool were you using?
Yeah, having that pull list. So I was using Tailwind for some of that.
Okay.
Which was really great. And then also doing some of that manually and figuring out like what combinations. And when that was then. So now I have this ginormous list. When I'm creating it for my clients, we typically have about 30 to 60 hashtag groups that will kind of switch through and readjust. And so if it's an inspirational type post, we have 20 different hashtags we use for that, and maybe 2 different versions of that inspirational hashtag group.
Right.
And knowing that I'm not doing just hashtag inspirational quote, right? I may look for something because that one has 8 million tags to it.
Right.
So the likelihood for my posts to show up appropriately and to get good reach or impressions on that is pretty low. So finding, tier 3 or 4, where the likelihood of that post showing up appropriately and getting some more traction is where we are in the niches. What'd you say?
Riches are in the niches. So you got to niche down all the way down, sub down. I call that sub niches. Yeah, exactly. For sure. That's a lot of work. Actually, I still do that to this day with my clients for ads. Like I literally sit there. I have tools that I can pull interest from, and and I've showed them on this channel before. But I actually still to this day, I go in and create multiple customer avatars for each account that I manually do the research on myself. Like I actually go into audience insights for Facebook and I dig through the data and match the data to the product that I'm selling in order for me to create my customer avatar, my dream client for that brand. And that takes time, it takes a lot of work. That's why I don't deal with Instagram anymore either. But there's a certain look that you should have on your Instagram account. It has to be congruent, right? So if you're selling pet products, it should be all pet products on the feed. You shouldn't be putting hashtag boss babe, and with CEO like in the middle of it, right? It should just be the pet products because that's the algo.
Right. Yep. And it depends a little bit. I do challenge that a little bit. So if you are, I will say products are a little bit different. I do work with a lot of kind of creatives and coaches in that space. And so a lot of them are, say a product photographer, but now they're starting to sell their secret sauce. Now they're trying to sell their how they got to where they're at in some type of course or whatever, right? So then that does change from just product photography to, boss woman or like, things like that, right? So then it kind of shifts because we want them popping up in kind of different ways because now they're selling different types of things. But yeah, no, I agree with you. If it's pet products, that's pretty clear and kind of cut and dry. But if that owner is wanting to have more of a presence somewhere, if that owner wants to stand out as leading pet product person for whatever specific niche that they're selling their products for, then it might transition to, hashtag single mom, hashtag business owner or whatever. Yeah, right. So they're showing up a little bit in that capacity because they want to expand their presence and reach on their page. Yeah.
So when it comes to Instagram and Facebook, for that matter, or even TikTok, what do you recommend when you deal with the small businesses? Because I tell them, I'm like, if you can't afford to pay traffic, you better be posting 10 times a day on each account because that's the only way you're going to break through the algorithms. So what do you recommend? Like when you set up a plan for a content strategy plan for these small businesses, what do you recommend they do to get started as far as like, content generation? How many times should they be posting a day on each account?
Right. Or, I don't like to give blanket answers to that because here's the thing. Some clients may be looking for just 5 clients. They just want 5 at this X amount. That's all they're looking for. While others may be wanting to sell a product. And so for me, for my business, I post maybe 3 times a week. I also use my social media as a tester a lot, so my clients don't have to. And so there's been weeks that make sure that my content and my hashtags are done really well that I can post once and still get 50 new followers within that week. So it's really making sure that we know what your clear goals are, what you're trying to fill, how much you're trying to sell, to know then, great, you're trying to sell to 700 people your special course. So we need to make sure that you are on Reels, that you're on, you're in your stories, you're posting on your social media to multiple places. So we're reaching all of these different ecosystems and environments. But for other people, it's like, I just want 5 big main clients, or I'm just using this for more inspirational things. Great, we can keep it pretty simple. You're just trying to find those people, and maybe you're not even using social media to find your clients. I think that's a really big one too. Yes, I would like to find clients through social media, but a lot of mine is personal touch points and personally reaching out to people as well. And so for some, it's just having the social proof on your social media that if people go, they're like, oh yeah, she's getting traction. Looks like she's got some followers. People are liking some stuff. Looks like she's educational about X. I'm going to call and reach out to her. So knowing and taking that time to figure out what exactly is your end goal will let you know how much to post, where to post, and what type of things to post. Because I do think people are putting a lot of time and money into, I need to post 7 times a day without knowing what their actual end goal is. And so you just show up in a lot of places, but people aren't necessarily buying what you're selling because it doesn't align.
But isn't the goal to like break through the algorithm? Because I know for a fact with Facebook and Instagram, you only get a 1% reach of all the total of your followers. So if you have 100 followers, only one person is going to see it.
Right. I agree. And that one person may be your only goal, is getting that one person or 5 people to purchase. I definitely say you need to post as often, as frequently as possible to match what your end goal is.
But you have them, since you deal with a lot of coaches and stuff like that, you actually have them do outreach themselves.
Yeah. If it makes sense to their business. So we're not just using their social media. They also have email marketing campaigns that they're also doing, or they're in other Facebook communities and things like that, where they're also kind of pushing their services as well. So it's a collective and multiple point area to shoot what they need to. But again, if their goal is 5 people, then that time and money may look differently than someone who's trying to get 1,000 people to purchase something from them. So that's all. I mean, is really understanding what their real goal is and adjusting from there.
Okay, cool. So then after you put the strategy, like you said, multiple touch points, whether it's Facebook, groups, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, email. At one point, so for those that are watching or listening right now, they're getting ready to hand it. What's the right time to hand it over to somebody like you to handle all that stuff?
Yeah, I would say kind of twofold. When you don't want to do it yourself anymore, when you're like, I hate doing this. I hate doing my social media. I hate planning it. It's not something that I feel like I'm good at or creative at doing that. So if that's a real big pain point for you, outsource it, because that does transition in kind of what you're putting into it. If it's taking you 7 hours to plan your 1 week, that's 7 hours that you could be using for something else, right? So I would say that is really a big thing. And then 2 is if you're trying to scale past yourself. So there's absolutely a point when me, even working in social media, where I will be hiring someone else to manage it for me as well, because I'm at capacity of what I can do, how I want it to do, and my reach, where other people can do a lot for me, outside of what my agency and what I do. So if you're at that point where it's like, okay, things are going good, I'm not seeing much traction, I'm not seeing anything else, it could be having someone in who does have ins and outs, and knowing a little bit more about the algorithm, or can read your data outside of just your Instagram insights, but really look to see what's working and what's not. And then I would suggest that would be a good point too, of wanting to scale past what you can do is when to hire someone else.
So now when these small businesses are working with you, how do you communicate with them? Do you have like a weekly coaching calls? So do you have a Slack team that you put together where you constant communication?
Yeah.
Do you do like plans, like weekly plans or monthly goals? How do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. So it looks a little bit different. Some, as far as communication goes, that could be through email. Sometimes I'm joining their Slack channel, their team channel, and keeping communication with that way. We typically use for social media, we use Planoly is our main. There's so many. I've used
Planoly. I never heard of that one.
Yeah, Planoly. So I have a list on my website of over 90 different social media scheduling platforms.
Love it.
There's so many, and some of them only do Twitter, some of them only do Pinterest, some do a weird combination, or there's lots of different versions and things out there. We use Planoly, so the client has access to see what's coming up. They can see all their captions, their hashtags, all the graphics that we did for them too, so they have access to that. We typically plan a month in advance, knowing, of course, some things are going to change and things are going to pop up, but we try to do at least 80% of their content planned in advance. And then each month we do have a strategy call reviewing what's going on, what's worked, what didn't. We can see on, this Tuesday, this one post was awesome. We did the exact same post potentially on another Tuesday and it didn't hit the same way. And explaining to them, if possible, sometimes you just don't know why things are working and when they're not, especially in social media and Instagram where things are changing all the time on their back end and in the algorithm, but explaining to them, look,
I deal with Facebook daily, so
exactly. And so, a lot of times they think like, oh, this worked really well on this Tuesday. Why I did something very similar on the next one. Why isn't that? And so explaining to them, sometimes the answer is, we don't know. Let's keep testing to see.
You know what my answer was after Black Friday? Performance was great that week, and then literally after Cyber Monday, everything just tanked.
Yep.
And it wasn't because of sales. I'm talking about like nothing was working, so everybody's freaking out. Like, what's happening? I'm like, the engineers got back from vacation, so they're fucking with the whole platform again. That's what happened. That's what it is.
Exactly. That's what happened. Or during the political season, like hashtags were turned off for that time. A lot of people didn't know that,
and so.
You weren't being able to see.
No, I'm telling you, they're still turned off. Last time I've been trying to set up influencer strategy for one of my personal brands, and I literally have people sitting there waiting because they can't find influencers because they can't search the hashtags.
Exactly.
Which reminds me, I have to check that on again today to see if they changed that yet. But
if they changed that, and then also adding which is what I just saw recently, maybe a week ago, and I haven't fully dived into it, but them adding more for keyword searching. And so that's going to change like a little bit more of what you're putting in your social media. Yeah. So Instagram recently, I read this in an article and then I did some research and then life happened and I need to go back into doing that. But putting more into specific keyword searching. So outside of just hashtags and those types of tags.
Oh, yeah. I did see that. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, very specific. So then now we got to change the game again because keyword searching happens.
You think that's a pain, try running ads. Everything changes like literally daily. So anyway, love it. Devonée, thank you so much for coming on. We're unfortunately running out of time. First of all, where can everybody find you? I'm going to have the link in the description, of course, but for those that are listening.
Yeah, so you can find me at ProSavvyAS.com. That's ProSavvyAS.com. And then you can find everything else from there. That's the easiest.
So if you're a small business, right? You want to put a strategy together, or you're thinking of starting a business, whether it's like coaching or even like a small boutique or anything like that, or influencer, I'm assuming like content and stuff like that, they can reach out to you. You will help them put a plan together, put a team together, and get their stuff out there. So if you're starting out and you're looking for somebody to help basically manage the whole deal for you or walk you through it and help you one-on-one, like your own personal project manager, I guess you could say.
Exactly.
Reach out to Devonée. All the links are going to be in the description. And Devonée, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, till next time. Thank you.
Perfect. Have a good one.
You too.